Tonight, India fires back after 3 men are arrested for the murder of a Sikh separatist on Canadian soil.
We think that this can happen again unless India is held to account.
A community rattled, Ottawa's response, and what India is saying now. Amid a bird flu outbreak in U.S. dairy cows, Canada moves to test your milk.
It's a very good idea to do this in Canada.
What consumers need to know.
Here comes Bailey, he's got it! 9.84, a world record!
Canada's fastest sprinter opens up about his career and the constant fear he'd be accused of doping.
There was absolute real paranoia. The fact is that I could never disappoint.
Plus the moment he realized he'd run his last race.
No one sees me cry often, but a bunch of tears were trickling.
A candid and personal interview with Donovan Bailey in The Breakdown.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Hannamansing.
After the arrest of 3 Indian nationals for the killing in British Columbia of a Canadian Sikh separatist, Canada's relations with India remain tense. The Indian foreign minister responding this weekend, he said Canada was at fault for welcoming criminals into the country and for pandering to extremists for political support. And while police now have suspects behind bars and are investigating links to India's government, some in the Sikh community fear that the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar won't be the last. Our South Asia correspondent Salima Shivji is in Mumbai and begins our coverage with India's reaction.
It was news months in the making. 3 arrests of Indian nationals nearly a year after Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar was killed on Canadian soil. Justin Trudeau now keen to reassure the country's Sikh community.
Canada is a rule of law country with a strong and independent justice system.
But investigators had little to say on the alleged involvement of the Indian government. Even if sources tell CBC News, police believe that to be true.
We are investigating if there are any ties to the government of India.
An allegation Indian officials have angrily denied from the get-go, and again this weekend. India's foreign minister says he doesn't know much about the men arrested or any gang affiliations, but he blames Canada for what India has long accused the country of doing, fostering a safe space for those that Indian officials consider violent extremists.
A number of people with organized crime links from Punjab have been made welcome in Canada. We have been telling Canada, saying, look, these are wanted criminals from India.
Even with India's strong denials that it orchestrated any assassination plot. On the campaign trail this election, the Prime Minister has been flexing his muscles and embracing the image of a nationalist strongman, protecting his nation at all costs against perceived enemies. This is a new India, he says, that will come into your home and kill you. For many in Canada's Sikh diaspora, statements like that one are chilling, as those close to Hardeep Singh Nijjar pray for more evidence to be revealed by law enforcement.
We think that this can happen again unless India is held to account at the international level.
All police will say is that the investigation isn't over. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
And so as the investigation continues, some members of the Sikh community say they feel threatened. And as JP Tasker explains, they want Ottawa to do more to protect them.
Canadian Sikhs are on edge, fearful they could be targeted by India's government, despite 3 arrests in the murder of Sikh separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
I don't think these arrests are going to change a heck of a lot until the operating minds are exposed.
The World Sikh Organization wants better protection for separatists like Nijjar, who want a Sikh homeland called Khalistan.
He was told repeatedly that his life is in danger, but he wasn't given any resources to defend himself or to prevent an attack on his life. The assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar was an abject failure of Canadian intelligence as far as I'm concerned.
This week's report on foreign interference released by Justice Marie-Josée Auger suggests Canada is concerned about India's clandestine footprint.
Foreign interference, which is generally but not exclusively the work of authoritarian regimes.
Writing in her report, Indian officials rely on networks of proxies to liaise and work with Indian intelligence officials in India and Canada. They target people aligned with Khalistani separatism, which India views as a seditious threat.
Those responsible for the killing of this Canadian citizen on Canadian soil will be held to account and face the justice system.
Canada's public safety minister is promising justice for the Nijjar family, but he's tight-lipped about what Ottawa will do to keep other people safe.
I think we need to have confidence that the RCMP will do the work.
That's left some Sikhs feeling vulnerable.
This is very clearly a part of a much larger conspiracy.
Sources who spoke to CBC News believe the 3 men arrested have ties to a powerful Indian gang. And while those ties are being investigated, community leaders fear an assassin could strike again.
It's India that is actively using organized crime syndicates to target Sikh activists.
JP, Ottawa isn't saying much about India's alleged role in Nijjar's killing, but Parliament is expected to take up the issue tomorrow.
Yeah, MPs are set to debate a Liberal motion on Nijjar's killing tomorrow. It's a chance to throw around some ideas on how to harden Canada's defences against nefarious foreign actors. There's also something concrete coming. The government is expected to table legislation creating a foreign agent registry with new criminal sanctions for people who don't report their dealings with a foreign government. It'll give police some new tools to try and crack down on meddling by India and others. Ian?
Thanks, JP.
Thank you.
An Ontario couple is making their first public statement after surviving a wrong-way crash that killed their infant son and his grandparents. It happened 6 days ago after police pursued a liquor store robbery suspect in a high-speed chase going the wrong way on Canada's busiest highway, the 401. In a statement, Gokhalnath Manivana and his wife Ashwita Jawahar described the agony of losing their 3-month-old son. His small toys and clothes remain spread around our house, and we have no courage in us to even enter our home, which is filled with our only son's memories, they said, adding that Manivanan's parents had arrived in Canada just 2 days earlier, eager to spend time with their new grandson. Canada will now begin testing for avian flu in the milk supply. It comes after a large outbreak in U.S. cattle. Last week, scientists raised concerns that Canada wasn't testing, but experts tell our Sarah Levitt this reversal is the right move.
For dairy farmers across Canada, what's happening in the U.S. is alarming. A growing outbreak of avian flu in cattle in at least 36 herds across 9 states.
It is an extra worry that we have for the farm. Whenever something new comes up, I think we're always concerned.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration says traces of bird flu are showing up in pasteurized milk, 1 in 5 samples coming up positive. Just days ago, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency said it wouldn't test Canadian milk, but now a shift. The CFIA promises to conduct enhanced testing of milk at the retail level and require negative test results for lactating cows imported to Canada from the U.S.
I think it's a very good idea to do this in Canada. It's inexpensive. You can get answers to this quickly. If you don't detect it, that's obviously good news. If you do detect it, you have to go look more closely to find out exactly where the problem is.
Experts say testing milk shouldn't worry consumers.
We know that pasteurization works because that is the basis for the safety of our milk supply. And in this case, for avian flu, we know that pasteurization also eliminates the virus.
Are these new measures enough?
I think they're the right first step.
Still, more can be done, this specialist says. There's been one reported human case so far, a Texas dairy farmer who contracted the flu. But some scientists warn there are likely more that aren't being detected.
I think doing some more asymptomatic testing in humans in Canada, especially and primarily those individuals who work with poultry or with livestock, would also be a good idea.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says it's watching what's happening in the U.S. closely and working hard to make sure it doesn't happen here. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
A pro-Palestinian encampment at McGill University is entering its second week. Today in Montreal, hundreds marched in solidarity with those camped out. Negotiations between the university and the protesters remain at a standstill. At the University of Toronto, a face-off with counter-protesters, campus security intervened. A much more chaotic scene on U.S. campuses as protesters and police clashed. Amid it all, many colleges are continuing to hold commencement ceremonies. But as Chris Glover shows us, those too are being disrupted.
On college campuses from Chicago to Austin, Texas, protesters digging in. But at the University of Southern California, the remnants of a pro-Palestinian encampment now being tossed in the trash. Before sunrise, police moved in. Students say they were bracing for the crackdown.
I think it definitely felt like inevitability, and that's why we were here all night.
The university confirming demonstrators left peacefully with no arrests. But violence at the University of Virginia, police in riot gear spraying protesters. At least 25 people arrested as officers cleared that encampment. Meanwhile, unrest at the University of Michigan extending into this weekend's graduation. Dozens disrupting the ceremony before walking out.
And if you could please draw your attention back to the podium.
Derailing the speech of the U.S. Secretary of the Navy and enraging some fellow classmates.
Get them out of here! Ruining our graduation!
While in Toledo, Ohio, a protest by way of a speech.
We, the people, are funding these horrors with our tax dollars.
The campus encampments are reminiscent of the ones against South African apartheid in the 80s, this history professor argues.
And those gradually built up power and speed over the course of several years and were successful at many campuses, leading to some of the reforms which led to the collapse of the apartheid government.
Yet at UCLA, where a lot of that momentum picked up steam, tightened security and a newly created Office of Campus Safety, highlighting the difficult time college administrators are having preventing campus protests from getting out of control. Chris Glover, CBC News, Washington.
Hamas has attacked a key crossing between Israel and Gaza, killing 3 Israeli soldiers. The Israeli military says Hamas fired 10 rockets at the Kerem Shalom crossing. Its forces are massed there ahead of a planned assault on Rafah. But the crossing is also one of the few aid routes into Gaza, critical for staving off famine, and now closed.
We believe this is an attack on press freedom.
That's the managing editor of Al Jazeera on Israel's move today to shut down the network's operations, raiding its office in Jerusalem and seizing equipment. Israeli officials called the network a Hamas mouthpiece, though they didn't provide specific evidence. With foreign media largely blocked from entering Gaza, Al Jazeera staff have been some of the only media on the ground during the war. Back here in Canada, some London drugstores are reopening. A cyber attack forced the Western retailer to close all its locations in 4 provinces for nearly a week. And as Yvette Brennan tells us, the company still isn't revealing much about what happened.
In the heart of Vancouver, London Drugs is showing signs of life after a cyber attack.
It's like it's Christmas shopping. People are very excited to be back.
About a dozen of the company's nearly 80 stores reopened doors Sunday, but that took 7 days. It's a slow process.
Skeleton crew and not much in the way of services.
The chain is also a major pharmacy, leaving some scrambling to fill prescriptions, with in-store pharmacies only open for emergencies.
They told me that I could pick up a prescription, but I needed cash to pay for it.
The company has offered no details about what happened, saying only that customer data wasn't compromised.
Most often when this happens, it's some form of ransomware attack where a hacker has gotten into the network.
Across the country, cyber attacks have targeted everything from governments to hospitals, often by hackers trying to extort ransom. BC's libraries hit just this week.
I suspect that many organizations have been taking this threat too lightly, underinvesting in it.
Brand experts say hacked companies need to better communicate with loyal customers.
And you need to do that. You need to be over-communicating. Right? They almost need to say, holy cow, those guys are really showing me the love.
For now, customers say they're happy to see doors open.
As a store where you get like pretty much anything you need, like from a snack to like, everyday grocery or like hair products or anything that you could think of.
More locations are expected to reopen their doors in coming days. Yvette Brent, CBC News, Vancouver.
WestJet has issued a 72-hour lockout notice to the union representing its mechanics. If the two sides don't reach a deal, a work stoppage could happen as early as Tuesday, and the airline says it would operate on a reduced schedule. WestJet says there will be flexible options for passengers who want to change or cancel their flights. First Nations are digging in for another potentially devastating wildfire season. Ottawa has promised millions in federal support and training, but for now, firefighters are using whatever they have on hand. Sam Sampson takes us to the front lines.
In a wildfire, this force and this force save entire ecosystems.
I love trees, right? So when I see them burn, I don't like that. So I like to go out and, the aspect of saving nature is really heartwarming, I guess.
But saving people and homes is what inspired Calvin Charles to take up firefighting. 8 years ago, his own home in northern Saskatchewan was almost destroyed.
After getting evacuated and stuff, I didn't really like it, and I felt like helpless.
So he and others from around the north are learning to use what they can to protect their homes. Water from a half-frozen lake to douse flames, pickaxes to manually dig fire breaks when machines just can't get to them. Ottawa recently set aside $175 million for First Nations to deal with this and future fire seasons. And it wants standardized firefighting training in First Nations by next year. A tough ask when some places still don't have basic infrastructure.
And there's some communities, especially rural and remote communities, that even have access coming in and out to get training. And we have to keep that all in the back of our minds that not everybody's downtown Toronto.
Ottawa says wildfire caused the evacuation of more than 90 First Nations last year. This year, it's giving each First Nation in Alberta money to hire an emergency management coordinator. The money could be crucial for the Athabasca Chippewan First Nation. Some areas can only be evacuated by air or water, and right now boats could get trapped by low water levels.
People in the community say that they've never seen it this bad in their lifetime. The whole community is at risk if there was a forest fire that burnt out of control.
That fear of getting stuck keeps these men going, to keep the fires at bay, to save lives and their homes. Sam Sampson, CBC News, on the shores of Lac La Planche, Saskatchewan.
At least 78 people have been killed and more than 100 are missing in floods in southern Brazil. People and animals are being evacuated by jet skis and boats. Officials said more than 115,000 people have been displaced after the worst flood to hit the area in over 80 years. Floods have destroyed roads and bridges and triggered landslides, as well as the partial collapse of a dam at a hydroelectric plant.
You good? Yeah.
And this is one of hundreds of people rescued from homes and vehicles in eastern Texas, where a flood watch is in effect for some areas. Heavy rainfall is causing rivers to swell, and with more rain in the forecast, they could remain that way for days, maybe even weeks. British actor Bernard Hill, best known for roles in Hollywood blockbusters Titanic and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, has died.
If I go, Theoden dies.
Hill starred as King Theoden in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He also played Captain Edward Smith in the 1997 Oscar-winning film Titanic. From the stage to the screen, his career stretched over 50 years.
4 hours.
A Taylor Swift fan is calling out a popular travel site after her rental unit was suddenly canceled as demand skyrocketed.
I just knew something was not right.
What you need to know before booking a room, plus. Another letdown for the Leafs shifts the Stanley Cup spotlight to the West.
One of them is going to be moving on to the conference final.
What to expect as two teams fight in hopes of ending Canada's 31-year drought. And using pop as a prop.
Like, how do you even make it?
We're back into. Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime losing the final of the Madrid Open in 3 sets to the Russian Andrei Rublev. The 23-year-old from Montreal advanced after his semifinal opponent withdrew with an injury. Just 2 Canadian teams remain in the Stanley Cup playoffs after the Leafs' Game 7 overtime loss last night. And as Philip Lee Shannock shows us, round 2 will be a Western Canadian battle.
And then there were two. The Toronto Maple Leafs lost a nail-biter Saturday night to their longtime rivals, the Boston Bruins, a crushing defeat in overtime, leaving the Vancouver Canucks and Edmonton Oilers in the hunt for the Stanley Cup. Toronto's drought now extended to 57 years. By now, fans are stunned, sad, but not surprised.
I'm still having a hard time processing it.
I think we're cursed. We're just cursed in general.
A Canadian team hasn't won a Stanley Cup in 31 years. Of the 4 Canadian teams that made it to the playoffs, Toronto and Winnipeg both made first-round exits, leaving Vancouver and Edmonton.
They're playing each other, and the bad news is one of them is going to be gone. The good news is one of them is going to be moving on to the conference final and theoretically have a 1-4 shot at ending this decades-long drought.
It's the third time the Oilers and Canucks have met in the playoffs. They first met in 1986. The last time in 1992, Edmonton came out on top. Fans of both teams are already gearing up for a fight. The premiers of Alberta and BC are on the bandwagon. They've got a bet that involves the loser wearing the other team's jersey.
There's going to be a lot of back and forth between these two fan bases. It's not often we get two Canadian teams going up against each other in the postseason, especially in the later rounds.
The puck drops in Vancouver this week. Felix, CBC News, Toronto.
A Taylor Swift fan who scored concert tickets is being forced to change her plans after her rental unit was suddenly canceled.
Don't believe that Booking.com and other companies have got your back.
The risks that come with using third-party sites, next. And sitting down with the fastest sprinter in Canadian history.
Here comes Bailey, he's got it! 9.84, a world record for Donovan Bailey and a gold medal!
What he was up against, his career highlights, and what it meant to have the support of a nation.
All of the Canadian fans looked at me and started clapping. I realized that's my victory.
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world, next. More than 1 million fans sang along on Brazil's famed Copacabana beach as Madonna sang her 1998 hit, Nothing Really Matters. The free 2-hour concert was Madonna's biggest ever and the last in her Celebration World Tour. A Taylor Swift fan is going public after a popular travel website canceled the accommodation she had booked for the concert weekend in Toronto. Then at least one of the rentals were relisted at a higher price. She shared her story with Rosa Marcatelli, who found bookings that seem to be locked in aren't.
If you see this, it's a safe bet you're looking at some serious Taylor Swift fans. Swifties, as they're called. Sarah Fournier is one of them. So as soon as the megastar announced a Toronto concert date, Fournier started making plans with her brother and some friends to travel from Montreal for the November show.
My first thought was to go to Booking.com. I just knew that it was going to be difficult to get accommodations later on.
She booked 2 places, then swiftly scored concert tickets. But just when she thought everything was set, Booking.com told her her accommodations had been canceled.
I just knew something was not right.
Fournier tried to get Booking.com to step up and help her get a similar place at a similar price. They didn't.
Here's the problem. Consumers think what they book on travel websites like Booking.com is locked in, but they shouldn't count on it, according to this technology expert.
Don't believe that Booking.com and other companies have got your back.
The only help Booking.com offered Fournier was a link for other places. By this time, demand and prices had skyrocketed. She then called one of the properties directly for help. Instead, this was the answer she got.
So you don't see an issue with that?
Absolutely not. Our goal in business is to maximize profit.
Booking.com's terms of service clearly say they're not responsible when customers don't get what they're promised. But the expert says they can't legally waive potential responsibility.
There are legal protections for representations that are false, misleading, or deceptive, that induce consumers into transactions.
Booking.com tells GoPublic both of the properties Fournier booked were removed from the site after not meeting the website's terms and conditions, saying Fournier's experience is extremely rare. She's not buying it. In the end, a family friend offered his place to stay. Now that she can count on. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
Our Go Public stories come from you. If you have a tip for the team to investigate, send an email to gopublic@cbc.ca. Now we go deeper into the stories shaping our world. How Donovan Bailey fought to keep the title of fastest man alive.
There was one guy in that race that could have won in, just one.
The legendary sprinter looks back on pivotal career moments and discusses his deep roots in Jamaica.
And you see the grassroots training, you see the passion that these kids have.
It was great getting a chance to hear Donovan Bailey's take on what was really going on during those unforgettable moments in a legendary career. All that and some excellent food. So we thought, a Jamaican restaurant in Toronto, perfect place to talk to you because you're a Canadian sports icon, but very much someone who came from Jamaica, right? Like in your book, Undisputed, it starts with a scene in Jamaica. What is it about Jamaica that has shaped your life?
Oh man, great question. Everything about Jamaica has shaped my life. This is where I started. This is the culture that allowed me to kind of harness sports or success. This is what was taught to me by my parents, and whatever my pursuit is of success, probably the foundation of it is Jamaica. I mean, I'm very happy to be in Canada and being Canadian and representing Canada around the world. But I think Jamaica is the foundation in which has allowed me to be successful.
And so lots of interesting insights in your book, Donovan, about your connection to Jamaica. And one of the things you said, which had never occurred to me till I read it, is how different it was for you to be, the experience of being black in Jamaica is so different than it is, thank you, in Canada.
Jerk chicken.
Ah, nice. Jerk chicken, of course.
And our curry goat.
Curry goat.
Paired up with jasmine rice and a mango chutney.
All right, thank you.
My parents are going to be so jealous when they see the curried goat, but anyway.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about that. And you write about it, about the difference of being black in Jamaica as opposed to being black in Canada or the United States.
Well, you know what? I think that maybe because we're Canadians, we're talking about being black. I think that coming from Jamaica, I never felt like or acted like a minority because, every single person that I saw on any level of society, whether or not it's the lawyer, doctor, prime minister, restaurant person, someone on the street, there was no limitations to what it is my dreams were because of what I saw. So when I got here, it was a little weird at first to look at how people are portrayed, to look at how things were, and so in some way, sometimes when I saw people portrayed in negative ways, it definitely affected me. I mean, it's funny because my friends and I, a lot of my friends and I mean, I was talking, to one of the great journalists, Dwight Drummond. We're talking about when you're watching the news and you hear about something bad happening, and you're sitting down from you're very small as a parent, with your parents. There'd be the conversation, oh man, something is wrong. Somebody did something wrong. And then your parents are literally saying, oh my God, I hope to God that they're not black or they're not brown or they're not from, our community. So it was very, very, very different to adjust to that when I just got there as a child.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting and notable point. Another thing about Jamaica is I think it is a country that treasures sprinting.
Yes.
I mean, the champs meet is there's no equivalent of that in Canada, right? Where every school kid or many school kids would dream about being the fastest on the track.
Well, champs, the high school championships in Jamaica is the very best on the planet, right? So it's not just there's nothing remotely close to that anywhere else. Not just in Canada, but any other country in the world. And you see the grassroots training, you see the passion that these kids have. You can actually see how sports completely affects their self-esteem as to how it is that they fit in society. I mean, if you go to champs, even to this day, you will see Kingston College versus Calabar versus Jamaica College versus Monroe, Wolmer's. These are all the really big, popular, well-funded city schools that are fiercely competitive as to who the best organized school team or track team is on the island.
But you were from a country school.
I am from a country school.
But you won a champs.
Yes, I did not win a champs.
You didn't?
No. Champs is no.
Oh.
I did not. I was fifth in the 100 meters, and our relay team was fourth. Listen, country school again, coming from country to the city, where you're seeing the big intimidating schools and all the colors and the pageantry. It was. I think we got a little scared. I got to say we got a little scared. I mean, there's an incredibly rich history, from the early 1900s of fantastic athletes from the island, and I was just one of them. I happen to be one of them, and I'm blessed to be part of that.
So I decided to bring you outside to what used to be Sky Dome. You like being in the cold, right?
Yeah, as much as you do.
Yeah. Okay, we'll make this quick. But
Yes.
this, of course, is where you had the 150-meter race, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But before we get there, thought I'd kind of ask you about a couple of other pivotal races in your career that people have heard a lot about, but maybe you can tell me something about each of them that might surprise them. First of all, 1996 Atlanta, gold medal in the 100 meters. So much has been said about it. So much has been written. I was in Atlanta as a reporter, couldn't get in the stadium, but I was watching on TV, and I was nervous. I don't even know who you are. I'm sitting there nervous before the start, because there were, I think, 6 guys in that race that could have won.
There was one guy in that race that could have won, Ian. Just one.
How did you feel in the starting block in Atlanta?
You know what? I was probably nervous. I was probably more nervous about Atlanta, about my injury, than I was about my talent and my speed. I'd gotten injured just before Atlanta. Didn't know how my body was going to hold up. But after I got to the first round, and then I had a great night's sleep. After the first night before the heats and the quarterfinals, then I knew I was going to be okay. But I was confident. I knew that it was a race for me to lose, and I don't think that way.
Good.
So I was just going in there to do my thing.
This time they do get away. Now it's Donovan Bailey trying to pick up runners. Donovan Bailey is putting on a surge. Adam Walden in the lead. Here comes Bailey. He's got it. 9.84, a world record for Donovan Bailey and a gold medal.
Okay, so after Atlanta, brings us to why we're here outside of what used to be Sky Dome. Bob Costas, who I have a great admiration for, in Atlanta came up with this notion that the guy that won the 200-meter race, Michael Johnson, was actually the fastest man, not you, which offends you to this day, probably, right? Okay, so you guys decided to go head-to-head in the 150-meter race here, a completely made-up event to prove once and for all who's the fastest.
This event has been called the savior of track and field in North America. It's been called trash sport. It's been called a heavyweight circus.
He didn't pull up, he's a chicken.
Michael, who's the fastest man in the world?
I am.
There's no doubt in my mind Michael would be Donovan. Donovan Bailey rules.
Whatever, it is great theater.
Well, listen, first of all, Bob Costas is one of the greatest that ever did it. And I'm still a huge fan to this day. But it does irk me, yes, it does. Michael ran 1932. They divided that. He apparently would have ran 966. But him not understanding that I ran 9.8, and then my last 100 meters in a relay is 8.6, so which means that I would have ran 18 seconds. He doesn't really understand that math. So the math doesn't compute. But yeah, this is the Sky Dome. I smile when I hear about the Sky Dome or Rogers Center. This to me is one of the probably the greatest days that happened for Canadians, because I am reminded of it. I'm reminded by Canadians that this was a time where they were proud. They were proud that I represented them. They were proud I said the things that I said. They were proud that I won.
Well, there is a most expected hush when runners approach the start line. Bailey on the inside, drops it on the outside. Bailey with a great start, running through the turn, in the lead. Now they race towards the finish. Johnson pulls up, Bailey's going to win it. Donovan Bailey comes back.
Two more quick things about that 150-meter race. One is, I didn't know till I read your book, you made $5 million in total in bonuses. In today dollars, that's something like, $8 or $9 million. You said it was the biggest payday for one race for one track athlete ever. Not bad.
Well, it is. It is. I mean, and again, and I think because people are always focused on the race itself. But yeah, I think that aside, I think that he and I, as disruptors at the time, and also as entrepreneur and business people, we own the event. And so from a business perspective, that does not occur today. And Michael and I were both trailblazers in that.
Every athlete, doesn't matter how great they are, it doesn't matter how accomplished they are, at some point they can't outrun Father Time.
Right.
And for you, that race, your career ended on a track, maybe fittingly, in Canada,
right,
in Edmonton,
right,
at the Worlds.
I wanted to retire at the top. I think that every athlete want to retire at the top of their game. As the world champion, a world record holder, the greatest person when you walk off the field. My body gave out. I blew my Achilles in 1998. Got sick in Sydney, and then was very fortunate that the World Championships was held in my home country. I was very fortunate.
Donovan Bailey is struggling.
Because although I didn't finish on the track the way I wanted to, when I did not make it, when I finished fifth in the semifinals, and fourth would have allowed me to go through, and I stopped, and no one sees me cry often, but a bunch of tears were trickling, and then all of the Canadian fans looked at me and started clapping. I realized that's my victory. That is my victory. That is my victory lap. I am at home, and I now have to thank them all. So I got up, brushed myself off, brushed my ego aside, and went for a victory jog in Edmonton, and it was the greatest thing that happened to me.
When we come back, Donovan Bailey talks about racism in the 90s and the burden of the Ben Johnson doping scandal.
I mean, the cortisol that probably built up in my body was just plain paranoia. As opposed to just being in a place where you can just freely be yourself, go to competition and run as fast as you can.
Let's get back to dishing with Donovan Bailey.
There was absolute real paranoia.
The pressure he faced to avoid a doping scandal.
And the fact is that I could never disappoint.
Here's the rest of our conversation. Listen, this food is absolutely fantastic. I'm glad that we're doing this over food generally, but Jamaican food even better. Let's talk about some serious topics now, and one of them is, performance. That's right. Get ready. Performance-enhancing drugs. In your book, you talk about how, I think you use the word paranoid, right? How worried you were that somehow through some mistake or bad action by somebody else, you might test positive. You might ingest something that you shouldn't.
Ian, I've never, ever watched or witnessed an athlete who tested positive, who didn't have a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I knew that I was responsible for every single thing that I ingested. Everything I ate, everything I drank. you know, where my water bottle is, you know, like every single thing on the, like whatever massage oil my massage therapist was using, like every single thing. Because again, I know the responsibility that I shouldered representing this country. I knew the story before. I mean, the cortisol that probably built up in my body with just plain paranoia, you know, as opposed to just being in a place where you can just freely be yourself, go to competition and run as fast as you can. Because the fact is, if I'm on the track and I'm doing repeat runs and I have to place my water bottle somewhere where no one's gonna touch it and no one's gonna see it and no one's gonna be around it. I mean, like that to me, like the like how that affected me mentally. I mean, obviously you know, these are reflections, but yeah, there was absolute real paranoia and understanding the weight in which I had to shoulder. And the fact is that I could never disappoint. Again, parents, culture, country, or in whatever, I mean, that's not in chronological order, but they're all equally important.
Yeah. Let's talk about another serious topic, racism. And even you suggesting in 1996 that in Canada there might be a quiet racism.
Right.
Even that is an utterly reasonable statement, but it wasn't received that way.
Ian, I was asked a question in 1996 about whether or not racism existed. Yeah. That was it. It's real simple, because I am definitely no activist. I mean, I'm probably more of a capitalist than if there's any ist, I'm a capitalist, right? So I'm certainly by no means an activist. My parents certainly were as community leaders. But I was asked a question, and the question was about racism and if it existed. And the fact that I dare to actually answer the question, me being my authentic self, was like front page news. I'm like, of course it exists. Yes, of course. At that time, that's all I was talking about. Yeah. I mean, and you know, full circle, this is great that you and I can sit here and have a conversation about it. And obviously post George Floyd and many Colin Kaepernick and all of these things. In 1996, I simply wanted a meeting.
I was a reporter in Atlanta in 1996.
Right.
I don't think I would have asked you about race back then. I mean, it was a different world, right?
Correct.
I think that a lot of people just didn't want to talk about it.
Maybe that was the problem. A lot of people did not speak about it in the 90s. Or if they spoke about it, people like myself who had a stage would have these very generic, sterile answers.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was never me.
Really? There is more. That conversation with Donovan was an excerpt from our latest episode of It Changed Everything. If you'd like to see the full interview, you can find it on CBC Gem, CBC Explore, or the National's YouTube page. Coming up, a Canucks fan takes his team's spirit to new heights.
Who made all these?
How he built this towering structure is next in our moment. Well, you're looking at a Vancouver Canucks goalie display that stands nearly 5 meters high and is made entirely out of cases of pop. The project was led by an employee at a Kelowna grocery store, showing off his support for the team and some mad skills. Tonight, the towering goalie makes our moment.
Who made all these?
This is my goalie. He's about 15 feet tall. I've had this plan for about 6 years now. I wanted to build this. And now the Canucks finally have a good chance to win, so I wanted to bring him out. You got the hockey stick here, the big glove sticking out. You got the logo popping right out there on there, and then the glove as well.
I don't even know how. Like, how do you even make it?
I started with a grid paper, then count all the boxes, and then my Pepsi guy or Coke guy will give me all the boxes, and then we got to assemble them all. That takes quite a bit of time. I do have a lot of help with it, so. Just started a long time ago. Just got some good positive reactions from customers and people. And just the attention I got from it just make me keep going on it. It's for the Canucks. I want to cheer on the Canucks and support them all. Creates excitement in our store too, so it brings in fans. Display will stay up as long as they keep winning, so I hope they keep the display up.
Okay, Edmonton Oilers fans, comments are closed, I hope. Their series, of course, between Edmonton and Vancouver starts this week. By the way, the guy who built that, 8 awards he's received for his various pop case displays. Thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the Nationals YouTube channel. I'm Ian Hannamansing in Vancouver. Good night.